Good evening, everyone. We will be starting the annual plan hearing meeting in 2 minutes. Good evening. Welcome to the New York City Housing Authority's public hearing on the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the fiscal year 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only developments and buildings, and changes to NYCHA's tenant selection and assignment plan, TSAP. I am Shauna Castillo, Senior Director of Resident Initiatives, and I will be your moderator this evening. Thank you for joining us for this virtual and in-person NYCHA public hearing. In a moment, I will introduce the interpretation services available this evening, both in the theater and for those who are joining us via Zoom. Then there will be a brief overview of the public hearing process, as well as the annual plan and significant amendment, introductions of NYCHA's board members, and some brief remarks. We will then conclude with comments from attendees. There are sign language interpreters available for the deaf or hard of hearing who will be visible on video and in person for the duration of this meeting. There are also Spanish, Russian, Mandarin, Cantonese, and Bengali interpreters available by Zoom, by phone, and in person. Please visit the interpretation table in the lobby if you need assistance. We will first ask the interpreters who are in person to introduce themselves, beginning with Spanish.
Gracias y bienvenidos a la audiencia pública de la Autoridad de Vivienda de la Ciudad de Nueva York. Para obtener servicios de interpretación en español, por favor diríjanse a la mesa de servicio de idiomas localizada en la entrada del auditorio. Gracias.
Russian.
Здравствуйте и добро пожаловать на сегодняшнее слушание, посвященное проекту годового плана жилищного управления города Нью-Йорка на 2026 год. Сегодня предоставляются переводческие услуги, и если вам нужен перевод на русский язык, пожалуйста, пройдите в вестибюль к переводческому столу и возьмите там приемник, по которому вы сможете слышать перевод. Спасибо.
Mandarin.
各位晚上好，欢迎参加纽约市房屋局年度机构计划公共听证会。我们的现场会议将提供普通话同声翻译，如有需要，请到会场外的签到处领取耳机。谢谢。
Cantonese.
各位晚上好，歡迎參加紐約市房屋局年度機構計劃公共聽證會。我哋嘅現場會議將提供廣東話嘅同聲翻譯。如果有需要，請到會場外嘅簽到處領取耳機。多謝。
Bengali.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা সবাইকে। আপনারা যারা বাংলা ভাষাভাষী এখানে এই মিটিংয়ে অংশগ্রহণ করেছেন তাদের জন্য এখানে বাংলা ইন্টারপ্রিটেশনের ব্যবস্থা করা হয়েছে। আপনাদের যখন দরকার আমরা দুইজন দোভাষী এখানে আছি, আপনাদেরকে সহায়তা করব। ধন্যবাদ।
Now we will ask the Zoom interpreters to do the same, beginning with Spanish.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a esta audiencia pública. Si desean escuchar esta audiencia y participar en español, por favor llamen al 646-558-8656 y entren al código de reunión 331-425-8640, signo numeral. Les repito, para escuchar esta audiencia en español, por favor llamen al 646-558-8656 y entren al código de reunión 331-425-8640, signo numeral. Gracias. Thank you.
Russian.
Добрый вечер. У нас на линии русский перевод. Для русского перевода в Zoom, пожалуйста, выберите значок иконки и в правом нижнем углу экрана и выберите русский язык. По телефону, пожалуйста, наберите номер 646 558 86 56, а потом выберите русский язык и наберите номер 804 869 14 48 и знак решетки. Спасибо.
Mandarin.
大家晚上好，欢迎参加纽约市房屋听证会。如果需要中文普通话翻译，请拨打646-558-8656，密码是461-857-9342。我是你们的翻译员王淑玲，号码我再重复一遍，请拨打646-558-8656。拨完以后呢，输入461-857-9342。拨通井号以后呢，就可以听到我们的服務。謝謝 ，Thank you。
Cantonese.
大家晚上好，歡迎參加今日嘅會議。如果需要廣東話，請撥655885656，會議號碼係83100035543後打井字。再重複一遍，如果需要廣東話，請撥646-558-8656，會議 ID 號碼係830003543後打井字。多謝大家 ，Thank you。
Bengali. Do we have the Bengali interpreter on Zoom?
Assalamu alaikum.
Could the Bengali interpreter start from the beginning?
আচ্ছা আপনি ভুল বলছেন, ওয়েট করেন। হ্যালো, আজকে পুরো অনুষ্ঠানটি যদি আপনারা বাংলাতে শুনতে চান, আপনাদের যেটা করতে হবে, আপনাদের যেই নাম্বারটিতে ডায়াল করতে হবে সেটা হচ্ছে 645536368 তারপরে হচ্ছে আপনাদের একটা মিটিং আইডি বসাতে হবে, সেটা হচ্ছে 840636278 এবং পাউন্ড কি। ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you. Please note that the hearing is being recorded and transcribed by stenographers. In accordance with Section 5A of the United States Housing Act of 1937, as amended, housing authorities are required to develop, with review and input from residents and the general public, an annual plan for the coming year and gather input on the plan from residents and the general public. Federal law allows a public housing authority to modify or amend its annual plan. Significant amendments to the plan must also be shared in a public forum to provide residents and the general public the opportunity to comment. Again, thank you for taking the time to attend our virtual and in-person public hearing. We appreciate that you have made this a priority and are here with us this evening. This public hearing is also currently being live streamed on YouTube, and the recording of this hearing will be available on NYCHA's website after the hearing has concluded. On June 13th, 2025, NYCHA released the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan and the draft significant amendment to the fiscal year 2025 annual plan for public review. The amendment is for the following disposition and conversion activities: FHA repossessed houses, FHA homes. NYCHA's FHA homes portfolio consists of 149 FHA units across 123 properties under Baisley Park Management. Most properties are occupied and located in the borough of Queens with single-family homes. The maintenance of these homes is costly and inefficient for NYCHA property management, and many of the homes are in poor condition. As part of the significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, NYCHA is requesting HUD approval for disposition activities at the FHA repossessed houses, FHA homes portfolio. NYCHA intends to dispose of a subset of FHA homes across New York City. The goals of this project are to improve housing conditions for residents, identified improved and/or non-NYCHA management solutions for all properties, and create homeownership opportunities where possible. NYCHA is also requesting HUD approval to potentially convert a portion of NYCHA's FHA repossessed houses, FHA homes portfolio to project-based Section 8 through the Permanent Affordability Commitment Together PACT program. NYCHA is currently working with individual households to understand opportunities for homeownership and converting the portfolio through the PACT program. The timeline for disposition is not final. Lavenberg Homes. NYCHA intends to dispose of the 104-unit residential building currently operated by Henry Street Settlement as an NYC Department of Homeless Services, DHS, shelter in the Lower East Side. DHS will work with Henry Street Settlement to renovate the building and continue its operation as a shelter site. Disposition through Section 18 and renovation timelines are to be finalized. NYCHA is also seeking feedback from stakeholders, including residents, for 2 additional documents that were released as part of the FY 2026 Draft Annual Plan. Draft Designated Housing Plan for Elderly-Only Developments and Buildings. Changes to the Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP. The executive summaries of the draft plan, draft significant amendment, draft designated plan, and changes to the tenant selection and assignment plan are available in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Russian on NYCHA's website and at the sign-in table. Draft Designated Housing Plan for Elderly-Only Developments and Buildings. NYCHA has prepared a newly designated housing plan for its current portfolio of elderly-only developments and buildings and requests authorization to extend the designation for 5 years as per the requirements of PHI 2005-2 HA and 24 CFR Part 945. As of June 13th, 2025, this proposed designation encompasses 7,378 units in buildings originally constructed for and intended to be occupied by elderly families. These units are in 31 elderly-only developments and 11 elderly-only buildings throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. All the units located in NYCHA's elderly-only developments and buildings are in federally aided public housing developments. Changes to the Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP. The NYCHA Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP, has been in place since 1996, ensuring that NYCHA follows a fair and neutral process in selecting applicants and tenant transfers to fill vacancies at NYCHA's public housing apartments. Periodically, the plan is reviewed and adjusted to meet changes in laws and regulations and changing needs and priorities of NYCHA and the city's population. In line with NYCHA's vision for transformation, we are considering changing the current TSAP from a 4-tier to a 3-tier system. Tiers 1 and 2 are allocated to tenant relocations. The 3rd tier encompasses all remaining transfer and applicant selections, which would be divided into 7 rotating groups, with certain categories allocated a higher proportion of selections to reflect their priority. The revised rotation model will ensure a more balanced and efficient selection process while addressing the needs of multiple housing priorities, including health and safety matters, domestic violence, reasonable accommodations, and homelessness. As part of the annual plan and significant amendment process, NYCHA met with members of the Resident Advisory Board, RAB, and Citywide Council of Presidents, CCOP, 12 times between March and June of this year. The draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP, were also shared with all RAB delegates and with the Resident Association presidents. I would like to thank the 9 members of the CCOP and their RAB delegates representing each of the CCOP's 10 districts, including 4 Section 8 residents. We encourage residents and the public to provide written comments on the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP. You can provide comments via email, fax, mail, or here at the public hearing this evening. The purpose of this public hearing is to obtain the views, comments, and recommendations of the public on the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the Tenant Selection and Assignment Plan, TSAP. These documents are not final and will be modified before they are submitted to HUD. Please understand, however, that this evening is not intended as a forum for verbal exchange. NYCHA representatives will not engage in discussions with the speakers, nor will they respond to questions. They are present to hear your comments about the aforementioned documents. Resource tables offering information on programs and opportunities that may be of interest to you are set up in the lobby. Distributing materials is not allowed in the theater. If you have leaflets or brochures you would like to share, please leave them at the resource table in the lobby. At this time, I would like to introduce our NYCHA board members. Victor A. Gonzalez, Vice Chair. Greg Belinfanti, Member. Paula Gavin, Member. James McCoy, Member. Raymond Miller, Member. We are also joined by Captain Gong from the NYPD and Eva Tremble, NYCHA COO. You will now hear remarks from our CEO, Lisa Bova-Hyatt.
Thank you, Shauna, for the introduction. Thank you to the NYCHA community for taking the time to participate this evening, including NYCHA staff and NYCHA board members, fellow city agency partners, community advocates, and elected officials, and of course, the residents we serve. We are eager to hear from you and get your input on the plans that Shauna mentioned. But before we get your feedback, I would like to take a moment to update you on the comprehensive and intensive efforts underway to transform your homes, your quality of life, and the authority as an organization. The foundation for this work is our efforts to improve living conditions through major repairs, renovations, and investments at our properties so that they can continue to serve as safe, decent, permanently affordable homes for NYCHA families and for the generations to come. This encompasses various initiatives to address the pillar areas of the HUD agreement. That is, the areas that most impact residents, like lead-based paint, mold, heat, elevators, pest and waste management, and apartment inspections, as well as top-to-bottom building and apartment revitalizations carried out through major housing preservation programs like PACT, the Trust, and Comprehensive Modernization, which we call CompMod. The progress, the results are tangible, and they're making a difference for residents and their quality of life across our hundreds of developments in all 5 boroughs. For example, pest complaints are down by 60%. Heat outages are down by 45%. Elevator outages are down by almost 40%. We're removing mold at a nearly 60% faster rate. We've abated lead in over 14,000 apartments, and we've inspected over 103,000 apartments so far this year. We're improving the way we work, becoming more efficient by overhauling management and shift work for our properties and our neighborhoods. While we acknowledge that more work needs to be done, we're proud of the progress we've made, and we're confident about our roadmap for continued improvement. But we wouldn't be able to make progress without you, without our partnership, and without all of our stakeholders. Engaging residents and connecting them to life-changing resources is another fundamental part of our mission. That's why we're training thousands of resident leaders and staff on Section 964 and the Memorandum of Agreement around resident engagement. We're connecting thousands of residents to economic opportunity through amazing initiatives like the NYCHA Resident Training Academy and the Child Care and Business Pathways programs so that they can follow their passion and gain valuable job and career skills. NYCHA also directly hires residents. Over 2,300 of NYCHA employees are also residents of NYCHA developments. Resident safety remains a core focus through programs that serve our youth, as well as our collaboration with other city agencies that foster safety in creative and comprehensive ways. On behalf of all of my colleagues at the Authority, I thank you for your vital feedback, and I look forward to our continued partnership in service to the NYCHA community. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Bova-Hyatt. I'd also like to introduce Joan Talley to the stage as well. We hope that many of you will take this opportunity to share your comments about the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the tenant selection and assignment plan, TSAP. Now I will review the commentary process to ensure the event continues to run smoothly. Attendees who submitted a request to speak in person today will be called on to speak in order of submission, alternating between in-person attendees and virtual attendees on Zoom and on the phone. Each speaker is allowed 2 minutes to speak. You will see a countdown clock here in the theater and on the screen via Zoom. Please keep an eye on the clock at the center of the stage so that you will know when your time limit is approaching. For those on Zoom, please pay attention to the clock that you see on Zoom. We expect a high volume of speakers and want to make sure that everyone has a chance to share their comments, so please adhere to the time limit. If you have additional comments or if you have an issue that concerns only you or your apartment, you can fill out a resident comment card at the sign-in tables at the lobby. They will then be collected by NYCHA staff. You may type your name, development, address, apartment number, contact information, and comments in the Zoom Q&A box, or you can submit written comments via email to annualplancomments@nycha.nyc.gov. Staff from our operations and property management departments are joining us this evening and will review the comments received. If you are here in person and wish to speak, you may fill out a speaker slip, which is available at the sign-in tables. If you are joining via Zoom or by phone, use the raised hand function in Zoom or press *9 on your phone to request to speak. The order of speakers will be individuals who submitted a speaker slip in person here today, individuals with their hands raised on Zoom. For those on Zoom, when called on to speak, please ensure your microphone is not muted. If you are dialing in by phone, we will call the last 4 digits of your phone number and you will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. If you are not responsive or no longer wish to speak when your name or phone number is called, I will move on to the next speaker. Please remember that we are here to listen to comments on the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the tenant selection and assignment plan, TSAP. Demeaning, vulgar, or discriminatory language, as well as personal comments or attacks on resident representatives, public attendees, or NYCHA staff will not be tolerated. We reserve the right to immediately move to the next speaker in the queue if comments are deemed inappropriate. Please be considerate of your neighbors and follow these instructions. Let us begin with comments from attendees who submitted a request to speak. When I call on you, please state your name and your development or affiliation, then share your comment. For our attendees here in the theater, please speak only from the microphones at the front of the theater. If you need assistance, please raise your hand and someone will come to you with a microphone. For our Zoom and phone attendees, when called, please unmute yourself and begin speaking. When you are finished speaking and your time is up, please mute yourself so that other speakers can be heard. As a reminder, you have 2 minutes to speak. To ensure that we hear from everyone, we will strictly enforce the time limit. Note there is a time clock on Zoom for those who are joining us virtually and a time clock on the stage for our in-person attendees. We encourage residents and the public to provide written comments on the draft fiscal year 2026 annual plan, draft significant amendment to the FY 2025 annual plan, draft designated plan for elderly-only buildings and developments, and changes to the tenant selection and assignment plan, TSAP. Comments may be submitted through August 2nd, 2025. We will now call on the first two speakers here in person. First speaker, Lourdes Camacho, and second speaker, Gail Rivers, Atlantic Terminal.
Yes, my name is Lourdes Camacho, and I'm a resident of Amsterdam Houses. I'm here today because there's a temporary boiler installed behind my building, which is 70 Amsterdam Avenue, and it's been emitting fumes and odor that's been affecting not only my brother, but also the residents of my building. And I want to know why it's doing it and when it's going to stop. Because I've been to court 3 times with NYCHA, and I have not gotten any answers. And my brother has written to the new chief executive via email, Lisa, and he's also emailed Trimble. And I want to know why, if someone could look into this for us, because my brother, he's a cancer survivor, and right now he's going through sarcoidosis, and this is not fair. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And we do have operations staff here today. Ms. Rivers?
Hi, my name is Gail Rivers, and I'm in 2nd Atlantic Terminal. I would like to know, will I receive my equity when I move? I was told that I would have to pay 3 months' rent when I move, and that no, I wouldn't get my equity back.
Thank you for your comment. Now can we have the next two speakers here in person? Layla Law Gasico, Fulton Elliott Chelsea, and then David Holowaka.
All right. Good evening. My name is Layla Logizeko. I am a district leader representing Chelsea, and I'm here to testify about the deeply troubling fiscal and governance choice NYCHA is making, particularly at the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. 3 years ago, NYCHA issued an RFP that clearly called for rehabilitation, not demolition. Yet today, the plan has morphed without a new RFP, without public debate, and without a shred of financial logic or engineering evidence into a full-scale demolition. The price tag has nearly tripled to $1.9 billion. The developer remains the same, related company, awarded not through competition, but simply by a sleight of hand. We are told demolition allows for greater borrowing, but Section 8 subsidy pegged to fair market rent is the same whether the unit is rehabbed or rebuilt. Therefore, there is no logic in the financing scheme that this project would get more funding through demolition. If anything goes wrong, construction delays, cost overruns, Section 8 shortfall, the public pays and the developer already has its fees and its 99-year lease. NYCHA claims the rehab plan was underfunded, but there's no evidence to that. This plan was never rebid. The public appraisal has been done on a mixed income land, yet the developer may build 75% luxury units as of right and tax-free for 40 years under the new City of Yes rule. The land payment, just $236.9 million. Is it fair? We don't know because there's no transparency. I've had to sue NYCHA under FOIL to get basic information because NYCHA has withheld documents, redacted financials, and claimed a 3-year-old bid document are trade secrets. It is not fiscal prudence. It is not sound housing policy. The tenants deserve better. No demolition. The public deserves better. No demolition. NYCHA must cancel this demolition plan and return to its original mandate, rehab and preserve public housing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker.
I am David Holoka, an architect and Chelsea resident. NYCHA has never presented a shred of evidence that Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses can't be renovated under pact like nearly half of its 335 developments to date. It has consistently refused to share substantiating building condition reports. The tenant survey behind the plan was based on the lie that renovation would cost as much as new buildings. NYCHA now admits that replacement will cost upwards of $1 billion more than renovation, and that it had failed to acknowledge the cost of demolishing existing buildings and designing new ones. NYCHA also says that no new mixed income development may be needed at all, even to replace the FEC buildings, thanks to low-income housing tax credits, bonds, and other financial incentives. But those incentives are meant to create new affordable housing, not subsidize demolition and needless replacement of structurally sound buildings to the tune of $1 billion wasted that could be applied elsewhere. NYCHA says right-sizing of resident families to apartments in the new buildings will result in a loss of about 260 bedrooms. That's a permanent loss of public housing capacity for future generations, perversely funded with low-income housing tax credits and government bonds. After promising that any mixed-income development revenue would benefit the FEC residents in compliance with its Build to Preserve program, NYCHA now says that revenue may go into its general fund instead. It is clear that this has been NYCHA's plan from the start. The demolition never had anything to do with building conditions, but exploiting Chelsea and the FEC residents. For this, Chelsea will be upzoned beyond recognition. This plan's dishonesty, waste, and contempt for the public are unconscionable.
Thank you for your comment. We will now have the first 4 speakers via Zoom and phone in the following order: Jackie Reshkoop, Rosalinda Toole, Teresa Scott, Karen Blondell. First speaker, Jackie Reshkoop.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jackie Reshkoop, and I'm a resident of Toad Hill Projects in Staten Island. We are currently under comprehensive modernization. However, my comment is not only about that, but about the present outlook for the plans for next year at NYCHA. Now, there are many plans for improvement. We have just heard 2 people explain that it isn't doing well in some places in NYCHA. At my comprehensive modernization, it seems above board. However, my question is this. If all this money being given to construction, rehabilitation here, will there be a raise in our rent or a raise in the 30% that we pay of our income? This is supposed to be for low income and middle income families, not for luxury apartments. I'd like to know if it is possible that we will be getting safe and sound rehabilitation and still be able to reside in an apartment at a low rate.
Thank you for your comment. Next Zoom speaker, Rosalinda Toole. Rosalinda Toole, you may unmute.
Hello?
Yes, please proceed with your comment.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rosalinda Tolle. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I hope everyone is doing well. My comment is in regards to the TSAP guidelines and the effect that it has on tenants waiting on the comp mod to start or finish. These residents may have been waiting for years, and it would be imperative that these residents' transfers be addressed before the comp mod begin, instead of these residents waiting for more years, especially for those waiting for reasonable accommodation and those who are overcrowded in their apartments with available apartments. I have spoken to many residents who are in need of these transfers. However, they need to continuously wait until it is done. Can NYCHA include TSAP guidelines in CONMOD? Thank you, and have a blessed evening, everyone.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next we'll hear from Teresa Scott on Zoom. Teresa Scott, you may unmute and proceed with your comment. Okay, we will proceed with our next Zoom speaker, Ms. Karen Blondell.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone, resident leaders, residents, and NYCHA. I just want to make a comment about the participation of the residents in regards to decentralization. I want to know more about how you're going to implement that plan with the resident associations in each development, and how we could collaborate with NYCHA and with the decentralization. Like in my development, there's a big Sandy job going on. And so one instance, they're pulling the frames of the doors to replace the entryway doors. And the contractors came in, they don't see what the residents see and the resident council sees at night. We saw gaps where vermin were getting into the building at the same time that the property manager was bringing in a vendor to treat the basements. So I want to see more clear conversation around decentralization and how we could make our amps and our budgets really work for each development. And I yield. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Blondell, for your comment. Next, we will have two in-person speakers, Mateen Sarsi, followed by Ms. Torres, Smith Houses.
Can we hear me now? Yeah. Yes. Good evening. My name is Mateen Sarsi, and the opinions shared in this testimony are based upon my own experience and do not necessarily represent the views of the Housing Authority as a current employee. In contrast to your rhetoric, the operational failures our residents face undermine our authority's mission, with full details provided in my written submission. We have over 600,000 work orders and more than 8,000 vacant units as a direct consequence of multiple NYCHA departments independently entering work orders inflated to unimaginable levels. This siloed approach has created the unforeseen consequences of decreased customer service at the unit level as the focus shifts from the residents' needs to compliance metrics. Current planners under the neighborhood model typically manage a portfolio of 3,000 to 5,000 units on average, and repairs take months or even a year. My proposal is straightforward. I say boost the number of neighborhood planners and refocus their roles on unit repair management. This would not only cut down on duplicate, outdated, or mismatched trade skill orders, but also improve repair coordination without having a painter show up before covering a hole, for example. We can treat people like human beings, not by wasting our residents' time from work or leaving them with the burden of project managing their own repairs. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Torres?
Yeah, I got it. Good evening. My name is NYCHA Torres, and I am the president of Alfred E. Smith Houses. I want to, there's so much in this plan, and we got it in pieces, but I do want to concentrate on the TSAP, because right now, I think not only my development, but all the developments are going through overcrowding in apartments when we have empty apartments and people. And TSAP is being used as the tool of keeping overcrowded families, 4 people in a 1-bedroom, 5 people in a 2-bedroom. And so we need to have another conversation about how this TSAP is going to really work for all the residents, the ones who are now paying mortgage rent in NYCHA, and how we fix it so that it works and we don't get into why you actually have TSAP because of the discrimination that happened for single Black and Puerto Rican women when that lawsuit was done, right? We don't want to go back there. We want to be able to have a clear picture. And I think it has to come down to the developments. And I think we need to talk about how do we fix it so that TSAP is more fair for the residents who actually live now in public housing. And so that our quality of life as residents is really, really good quality, and not people being overcrowded and unhealthy conditions. And I say this because I knew all the people who did the actual lawsuit for the TSAP. And so I want to know how it's going to get better instead of not working once again for the residents in public housing. I thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next 2 in-person speakers will be Neon Walters from Van Dyke, followed by Miss Lisa Kenner, Van Dyke.
Good evening. Can you hear me? No. Yes. Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak, have this opportunity. I'm from Van Dyke. I lived there for 44 years. Passionate about my community and my Van Dyke. I have caretakers that was the best. Now I have the worst. When you get out in the morning with the kids going to school, people going to work, you have urination in the elevator, you have to put your face in your clothes, you look out on the floors, you can't even see what color the towels are. And when you report it, you know, they just remove the person to another, to another building. Same thing happened, he get moved again, he get moved again. I have a camera on my door, not to watch what the workers is doing, but for my packages getting stolen. And I thought you only supposed to wash and do once a month. That's how I have a Houdini in my building. And you see the bucket, you see the broom, you see the dustpan, you don't see him. And now it's, with the children going to school, seniors in the building have to smell urination, and it's disgusting. I have drug dealers in the building now. It's like you're giving out free cheese, but they're giving out drugs. So, I would just like everyone to show up for their job just like they're showing up for their paycheck. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Kenner. I am the Resident Association President, and that's one of my residents. And she have her opinion, and I try my best, but I didn't come here to bash anybody. I just came to say, with these pets, these dogs, you have to do something about it. Dogs are over 50 pounds. When it started 30 years ago, I came to a meeting, and this little old lady said her dog was her companion. It was 20 pounds. Now it went to 25. You got dogs in there 50 pounds. What is going to take? Another lion to come and live in the apartment, then you're going to come and get them? You have maintenance people have to go to people's houses. You have residents that live there, but especially maintenance. You can't go in somebody's house and they got a pit bull, maybe 3 pit bulls in the house, an apartment, not a house. So I think we have to start to be mindful and listen. See, I think we lacked off listening to what people have to say. You know, as a president, I'm going to tell you the truth because I live there. I want a decent place. And like I told Ms. Waters, if you got a problem, call 707. See, I don't let them come to me. I want them to be independent on themselves because I'm not going to be here forever. I've been here 20 years. I didn't know I was going to be here that long as a president. But you can't leave because if you leave, our development would fall. So I'm trying to train somebody because this is going to be my last 3 years. I'm trying to train somebody so I can sit down. When I started, I didn't even have no gray hair. Look at the gray hair I got now. You know, but let me tell you something. I love Van Dyke. I was born and raised there. My mother taught me this is your home. And if you don't take care of it, nobody else gonna take care of it. And then sometimes if I come across a little too hard, no, I just love where I live. And I think that people need to start doing what they're supposed to do. But we have to start somewhere. And you need to start with them dogs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We will now have the next 4 speakers on Zoom in the following order: Ramona Ferreira, Casanova, T. Boyd, and Soraya. First speaker, Ramona, you may unmute and share your comment.
Evening, everyone. My name is Ramona Ferreira, and I am the founder of Save Section 9. Tonight, I'm going to highlight some of the pieces from our testimony, as we already submitted that in writing. Considering the draft designated housing plan for the elderly, we wish to have the following priorities incorporated into any plans moving forward. First, that NYCHA prioritizes the repair and rehabilitation of units in elderly-only buildings. Second, that NYCHA opens up elderly-only buildings to disabled individuals. Third, that NYCHA better oversee the delivery of programming, resources, quality of life, and service needs for seniors and the disabled. NYCHA can't allow units to sit empty for years while claiming that there is a demand for these elderly units, and the demand is high because NYCHA continues to prioritize the rehabilitation and repairs necessary for PAC conversions or project-based Section 8 privatization schemes. Instead, Section 9 units must be prioritized. For the draft significant amendment, we are concerned by the proposal to dispose of these homes and believe that NYCHA should instead explore home ownership opportunities for Section 9 tenants. We wish to highlight that PAC and RAD are not sustainable sources of income for the Housing Authority. Under the Trump administration, it's been demonstrated that Section 8 is not safe from racist assumptions surrounding housing subsidies, and cuts to Section 8 and project-based Section 8 will make it difficult for the Housing Authority to execute this annual plan. We urge NYCHA to begin advocating for the investments necessary for Section 9 to thrive. Our analysis indicates that NYCHA's shortfall is actually $41.4 billion, a figure that's attainable if NYCHA strategically reorganizes, cuts the management offices, and prioritizes tenant impacting actions. Tenants must have access to clear information and a strong say in the future of their homes. The public should have a say in how their funds are spent on the future of our homes, and we're glad to see that NYCHA is publicizing the federal RAD rules and regulations, but enforcement is what truly is needed. We would welcome NYCHA making amends, as so much harm has already been caused by management companies and the Housing Authority and contractors.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Casanova.
Hello, I'm Ms. Casanova. I am a tenant at Vladic Houses in Manhattan. My only comment was I've been living here for a while. I've been in NYCHA for many years, but I've been living here for over 10 years. And I've noticed this is one of the older developments. And for the most part, when I first moved here, we had great caretakers and everything. And I would say ever since the pandemic in 2020, I haven't had my floor, hallway floor mopped or shined. Literally, it was dirty for years to the point where I myself started cleaning up in the development, me and a few of the other neighbors. So I think that's unacceptable. Also, this development was built in the 1940s, and everything here is outdated. I was told we were getting a big budget for some changes, for some updating, for some renovations, and nothing has been done as of yet. It's very disappointing because this is a very nice neighborhood. The neighbors are very neighborly. Everyone knows each other. It's a small development, but it's like we are forgotten over here in this area. And I wanted some more input from the city, from the whole team. Just somebody do something. Everything is so very old here, and the complexes around us are very updated. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for having me speak.
Thank you for your comment. Next on Zoom, T. Boyd. T. Boyd, if you are on Zoom, you may unmute and share your comment. Okay, I'll move on to the next Zoom speaker, Soraya.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Soraya. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So I'm a new tenant at Low Houses located in Brownsville, and I just had a few inquiries and worries that I have come across since living here. I've been living here for about 7 months, and some things that I noticed that is bothering my daughter and I. We live in a 1-bedroom, and we do know that in our building, certain apartments are getting like lead abatement, but it's extremely noisy, and it's like we hear a lot of banging on the walls, and we don't know where the noise is coming from. I have a daughter who's under 6 years old, and she complains, and she can hear it, from her room as well. We have complained to our management office, and they don't know what's going on. I wanted to know, number one, how to go about dealing with that, because it's extremely bothersome. And I'm also happen to be a college student who does classes online, so the noise really bothers me. Secondly, I'm not going to take too long. I don't know, is there anything that you guys can do about residents smoking in the house? I have a neighbor, I don't know where it's coming from, if it's from adjacent from me or below me, but the smoke is going directly into my daughter's room and also in the living room where I happen to sleep at. And I don't want to go knock on anyone's door, but I don't know what else to do about that. Last, I wanted to bring up the fact that there is roaches that's in this development. I keep my apartment extremely, extremely clean, and I take my garbage out every night. Is there anything that you guys can do to help with the roaches?
Thank you for your comment. You may leave your contact information in the Zoom comment box. Now we are going to rotate back to our in-person speakers. First, we're going to start with Stacy Torres from FEC Against Demolition, followed by Salinas Miranda from Elliott.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening. My name is Stacy Torres, and I'm a lifelong resident of Chelsea. I am here tonight in support of Stop Fulton Elliott Chelsea Demolition. As an expert on aging and older adult well-being, I am extremely concerned about the complete teardown of the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood. The first residents to be displaced are 91 senior residents of the Chelsea Addition elderly-only building, slated for demolition this fall. What plans does NYCHA have, if any, to replace this safe, vital, and highly desirable housing for seniors? What steps will be taken to accommodate displaced senior residents to relocate to other senior NYCHA housing if they wish? And why are vulnerable disabled seniors selected to move first and twice, subjecting them to considerable distress, and disruption in the final years of their lives? And what steps will be taken to protect all of the older residents in this naturally occurring retirement community during 16 years minimum timeline for reconstruction and demolition? I want to say something else. What's happening in Chelsea is a cautionary tale for all NYCHA residents here today and on Zoom to pay attention to. If they come for us now, they come for you next. If you'd like to get involved, please Google Stop FEC Demolition. You can come for more information. We'll be handing pamphlets on the street outside. Stop FEC Demolition. Please Google and inform yourselves and find out what's going on. Thank you so much and bless you all.
Thank you for your comment.
When did HUD change the rules in regards to a Section 18 demolition and disposition application? How is it that now it's not required to submit an obsolescence report to demolish public housing? The proposal at Fulton and Elliott Chelsea is a proposal of a mass demolition of structurally sound buildings. Jonathan Gavay from NYCHA and Jamar Adams, the private developer, admitted in a letter to Community Board 4 that our buildings are structurally sound. This contradicts the narrative that our buildings are falling apart. HUD may not require any proof of buildings falling apart, but we, the residents of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea, are requiring to see the proof. The community of Chelsea is requiring to see the proof, and many of the leaders throughout our district are demanding to see the proof, including the Tenant Association Board of Elliott Chelsea Houses. This includes myself, Celines Miranda, who's the second vice president. How can you make claims that as a result will lead to extreme consequences and not back it up with the evidence? You will all be under some serious violation and commit and allow for a crime and assault to our community. Brad Boyman told us at a recent meeting that we had the chance to speak at upcoming hearings when we requested to have a vote as the one conducted at Jacob Reese. But he nor anyone else has been listening. For over 2 years, we've been to all sorts of meetings, all speaking against this demolition, and most recently at the DEIS hearing in which the vast majority of tenants and the Chelsea community spoke up against demolition. And how convenient that both recordings from the DEIS at the Fulton and Elliott houses did not record the images, the voices, the passion against this plan concealed from the public. From day one, our efforts to stop demolition have been consistently sabotaged every step of the way, including disregarding our petition of over 950 tenants who signed against the demolition. The cost assessment that's claiming it costs 1.2 to renovate, where is that document? And how come absolutely no one is requesting to see and study the material before making a decision? This tells me that the rumors are true, that you are all in cahoots and planned this way before it was ever presented to the tenants. The very tenants you are claiming are leading this proposal. There is no guarantee that related company will be able to finish this job. What are we going to be left with if this is left halfway? With Trump tariff and the economy potentially leading towards a recession, it's possible that related will not be able to finish. Who will take accountability?
Thank you, Ms. Miranda, for your comment. I would now like to take a moment to introduce our NYCHA Board Chair, Jamie Rubin.
This is on. Oh, it is on. Okay, great. Thank you for introducing me. I'll be brief because I showed up late, and I apologize for that. It was unavoidable. I've now been board chair for 2 years, and it's been an eventful time in many ways. But I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud of the opportunity that I was given by the mayor and by the federal government 2 years ago to serve as board chair. It's an honor and a privilege. I'd like to thank everybody here tonight, particularly NYCHA residents, for participating this evening. We hear you, and we hear you every month when those of you who feel like showing up for the board meetings have the ability to do that. We are, we listen to you. We'll refer you to the relevant people at NYCHA, and we try to solve your problems. We can't solve all of them because NYCHA is an imperfect organization like everywhere else, but we do our best. Since I became board chair, I've spent a fair amount of time out in the field, in particular with the folks who work for Eva Trimble to my right, managing the buildings that you all live in and day out. I've met many of the people that work there, and I'm continually impressed by the dedication they have to their jobs and their willingness to work hard under very, very difficult circumstances to serve our residents as best they can, and I'm proud of them as well. NYCHA's history, particularly in the last several decades, has been a difficult one. The federal government, state, and city have all disinvested from NYCHA over the years. Since building NYCHA and standing up these incredible buildings in as late as the 1960s, in the last 10 years or so, and you all know better than I do what that means, the team up here now and the team working with them back at headquarters and elsewhere have dedicated themselves in the last several years to trying to turn that around by working differently, by working smarter, by reorganizing NYCHA, by doing more with less, because that frankly is what has to happen. And most importantly, in some ways, by finding much more creative ways to bring capital into the NYCHA buildings where you all live. We have a $78 billion capital hole, and there's no way to hide from that, finally. That money's out there in the world, and we're finding ways to bring it into NYCHA through innovative programs, among other things, like PACT and the Trust, and our Comp Mod, which is simply NYCHA putting more money into rehabilitating these incredible, venerable buildings. Public housing is one of the proudest accomplishments in this country's history, dating back to the early 1930s, and we owe it to the country and to you to bring the system back into what it was supposed to be, which is a way to give New Yorkers a safe place to live and raise their families. So I'm proud to be part of that. I'm proud to be part of this, the task of turning NYCHA around. I think there's been incredible progress thanks to Lisa and her team. I thank them. I thank you for coming. I encourage you to come more often and make your voices heard. And I'm now looking forward to hearing more from you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rubin. We will resume with 2 in-person speakers. First, Councilmember Gail Brewer, followed by Will Kitchen from Drew Hamilton.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I am Gail Brewer. I represent the Upper West Side. This is an important time, as we just heard from the chair, because we have an affordability crisis, and NYCHA is absolutely needed. You have much to support in the plan, the neighborhood model, some of the repair processes, focus on vacancies and lease enforcement. And I'm grateful for the tenant selection and assignment plan TSAP, and for those who are working to make sure that if somebody has a criminal record, they have the opportunity to plead their case to stay in the unit. So there are some good things. And I know that, as you heard earlier from the Trust, PAC, RAD, maybe Air Rights, you're trying to address that 80, I think it's 80 billion. I know you say it's 78. I think it's actually 80 billion needed to run and to build back NYCHA. But implementation is where the rubber hits the road. To the credit of Garden Riverside, we have been meeting with all the tenant leaders on the Upper West Side on a regular basis. And that's where you hear what some of the implementation issues are. We know about the entry doors being broken. We know about abusive tenant behavior sometimes, pet violations, repair backlogs, and the list goes on. There are 170,000 work orders last year, 51,000 still open, almost that many closed, however. But when you don't have plumbers, you don't have carpenters enough, then you're going to have trouble getting all of these things fixed. And that's what one of your challenges is, to get more of those professionals. The federal government is a disaster. Housing assisted units could be cut based on the budget bill by 42%. And the issue is, how does this plan prepare us? So we still have so many tenant challenges. We have unresolved repairs in buildings. We have structural damage in units. We have all of the issues of wait list when nobody knows whether their application has been accepted or not. We have all the issues of excessive heat, and we have transfer information that has not been correctly given to people. And then my big issue is, of course, the vacant apartments. We have in one unit, the brownstones have 35 vacancies. Amsterdam has 40 vacancies. I know that the council has put in $25 million. You need a lot more. but if we can focus on the vacancy so that people could have units, I think that would be something to do that is absolutely needed. We also have recertification issues because people, they are older, they didn't know they were supposed to. How does NYCHA keep track of them so they do not get evicted? Speed and easier access are mentioned in your budget, but the issue is how do they get implemented at the same time? So I'm here to say that we must do better with our vulnerable residents. I recognize the strides that have been made for survivors of domestic violence, as I mentioned earlier. I'm glad that tenants with criminal records have a way to respond and the continued commitment to speedy repairs. But I still question the execution of some of these initiatives. And I urge the authority, based on the plan and other methods, to fulfill its obligation to its tenants through the implementation of this budget, which obviously needs more, but as you said, you have to make sure that when the rubber hits the road, the work is getting done. Thank you very much. I have longer copies, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Please also submit your written testimony. Will Kitchen, Drew Hamilton.
I'd like to say that your process is broken because, number one, there's no feedback from the illustrious people sitting up there, which is reprehensible. There should be more of that where we can do that. Saying that, I'm from Drew Hamilton houses, filthy Drew Hamilton houses. And I'd like to say that listening to Lisa Vogel-Hyatt talk about all the repairs in lead, what about asbestos? I'm in a situation where for 3 years going on in August, I haven't been able to use my bathroom tub because they did an illegal asbestos abatement there with the police while I was waiting with Elena Tenchikova from the Healthy Homes unit. They made my apartment unhealthy. And I'm in the court, and the judge is asking me to prove that they did it. They did not do a post-abatement in my apartment with HEPA filter and wet treatment. The dust is still there. I asked this body and everybody here to understand that the asbestos unit for this city needs to have a federal investigation ASAP, starting with my apartment, where I have a trademark business going on as well that got contaminated. In closing, I hope that people here can start a GoFundMe to get lawyers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kitchen, for your comment. And again, we do have operations staff on hand tonight for individual apartment concerns. We're going to turn to Zoom. I'm going to call on 4 attendees by Zoom. The first one is titled Zoom User. Second person is Bernadette Thomas, followed by Teresa Scott and Georgiana Diaz. First speaker, Zoom User, you may unmute and share your comment.
Hi, I am Alexa Cruz, and I live in NYCHA for 57 years. And NYCHA used to be very good. They used to do repairs. We used to get all kinds of new stuff, and we had asbestos. They fixed it. Now they're saying they don't have any money. There was Nidia Velasquez that she presented the HR 307 to Nadler, and it's been ignored by the elected officials. There is money And I ask, where are the billions of dollars for years that NYCHA didn't follow up on the apartments that were damaged? What's going on? NYCHA is not what it used to be 20 years ago. I believe in Save Section 9, and I believe that Save Section 9 from the HUD will do the repairs for everyone. I don't understand why you guys are selling us off to the privateurs that later on the market rate rent will be increased within 20 years of the contract that they give the tenants, because we're being misled by the NYCHA, by the elected officials, and by the city people. Okay? So do something about it. And Mr. Rubin, you say you do your job, but please follow up on it. We are human beings here. We need your help. We don't need to be taking out our homes. I live in Chelsea Elliott and Chelsea Elliott, and they want to take the elderly people out of there. That's unfair. You guys are abusing us, discriminating us. Why? Because there's a minority people with low income that are black, brown, and white with low income. That is not fair. Thank you.
Ms. Cruz, for your comment. Bernadette Thomas.
Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Bernadette Thomas. I live in Castle Hill Houses. There's so many topics that have gone on tonight that I've heard, but the main thing that needs to stay in place is policy, protections for the tenants. The reason why I'm saying this is because now we're noticing that there are annual this agenda, that agenda. Things are being changed, which is no problem. Things change over time, but there should be oversight as well. There is no oversight for the elderly that are in Chelsea that have to be uprooted and no one's there to help them. There are people who live in housing, such as myself. Nothing's wrong with housing. I've worked for the city for years until I couldn't work no more. There are issues with management as far as hot water being out more than it's in, repairs of floor tiles, people not getting the proper repairs that they need. There should be follow-up. There's no reason why maintenance, when you call them, do not know that there's an outage in your building for over 24 hours, or going out that there's a problem with your boiler. They fix it and then it's back on and then it's out again. And we need funding for new boilers because the wintertime is coming. This is an ongoing problem, but as far as oversight is concerned, we need that so we can help the elderly. They cannot help themselves. We need people who are going to interact and continue to follow up with all the tenants, and the residents have an access to follow up with the management. It just has to be a back and forth open communication and transparency. I've noticed that it's a lot going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Teresa Scott.
Peace and blessing. Good evening. My name is Teresa Scott. I'm speaking from Redford Houses in Far Rockaway. We urge NYCHA to allow the tenants to have a voice in their voting when it comes to trust impact to be considered. We also wish that you would allocate the fund that you have for RAD to put it towards Safe Section 9. Our tenants are relocated, and we are not certain that the tenants get a chance to return to their homes, as historically they have not. If you look at the movie Raising Liberty, you will see this is what happened with people when they did this. We urge NYCHA to prove oversight by hiring individuals, preferably via Section 3, to carry out the task of executing and enforcing relocation. We would prefer 70% of these hired Section 9 hires, and we strongly believe that PAC partners should be subsidized their roles and positions. We're looking forward to NYCHA offering transfers We are looking forward to NYCHA offering transfer to another Section 9 apartment to every tenant once a conversion is announced. Finally, we urge NYCHA and HUD to provide infrastructure necessary to ensure that our rental payment history benefits our credit score. Yes, please do that. We urge NYCHA to explain the earnings associated with the sale of air rights in the past. We wish to see clear accounting of how air rights have benefited surrounding developments and how the future sales of air rights could use to benefit Section 9 public housing. The other thing I'd like to say is that when I live in a mixed building with everyone, all families, and I do believe as a senior that if I would have not, I was disabled when I moved in here, and now I'm as a senior. If I would have been in a building with people that are all seniors, I would not be alive today. My neighbors have saved my life, have helped me, have done things. So putting seniors in senior-only building is putting seniors at rest, and especially if you have not asked them. Just making a choice for seniors is out of order.
Thank you for your comment. Georgiana Diaz. Zoom speaker, Georgiana Diaz.
Okay. Hello, I'm here. Am I being heard?
Yes, please proceed with your comment.
All right. My comment is brief, hopefully can be brief, and hopefully it's hitting the ears of people who are high enough to get something done. I've had a work order ticket through CCC for the intercom system in my building to be repaired. I've had the ticket in since March 11th. I just recently had an open heart surgery. I need people to get into my apartment. It's critical that the doctors and the nurses and the people who help me deliver food get to my apartment, and they have to stand downstairs and wait until someone comes to open the door. I cannot go downstairs. It's critical that I get some assistance. And as I repeat myself, that the building, the repair ticket has been in since March the 11th. The last conversation I had, CCC told me it was in the enhancement department. My tenant assistant doesn't even know of this type of department. So, like I said, I'm hoping that this is an opportunity to reach the ears of people who are able to just make a telephone call and make some assistance. I need the help. It's critical that people are able to get into my 7th floor apartment. I live in the Gravesend Houses Authority, Building 8, Apartment 7D. I see where someone listed in my Q&A that I should write an email. I will do that, and I hope that something gets done. And thank you very much for your hearing and for your assistance.
Thank you very much. We will move to in-person speakers now. We have Shane's Butler, followed by Susan Marshall of CCBA.
Hi, I'm Shane Butler. I'm very curious if this includes those that are private voucher holders with the annual draft plan, if they're included, or do they have a separate meeting from those that are in public housing? That's my first question, because I notice mostly those that are in public housing are attending to this, but is there another meeting for those in that have the vouchers, the draft plan, so that they can also be active, especially if they are the ones with the vouchers that are absent with finding houses, along with accessibility and also security when they're transferring, whether they're going through domestic violence, intimidation, witnessing, or whatever situation they're going to that is more functional for their household. Also about the FSS program, about that being like about that being more functional for those that work commission and seasonal jobs. So those are my 3 bullet points that I'm highlighting for this meeting and to better serve the people, the essentials of the economically challenged.
Thank you very much for your comment. Susan Marshall.
Hi, I'm Susan Palmer Marshall, President of the Council of Chelsea Block Association, CCBA, which serves 79 blocks in Chelsea, including the campuses Fulton Houses and Elliott Chelsea, known collectively as FEC. The current plan on the table, sanctioned by NYCHA in partnership with Related Essence, is one in which we have deep concerns. While the plan promises new housing for NYCHA residents, the reality is far more troubling. It consolidates public housing residents into 3 buildings per campus, segregating them from the broader community while turning over most of the land to private market rate development. That is not mixed income housing, that is segregation by design. What began as an initiative centered on improving living conditions for NYCHA residents now appears increasingly focused on broader market rate development, with residents' needs appearing secondary. We also heard about the seniors, so I will not talk about that, but that was eloquently said. I do want to say that, and you also heard from Layla about the bait and switch of the rehab proposal to full demolition and rebuild. Public housing is not about providing shelter, not just about providing shelter. It is one of the last bastions of non-market housing in a city driven by real estate capital and private equity logic. I urge you to reconsider this proposal and ask yourself, am I my brother's keeper? The community is watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. We have our next 2 in-person speakers, Matthew Robinson from CCBA, followed by Doris McLaughlin, Oceanside Apartments.
Okay, my name is Matthew Robinson. I've got an architectural background, so I'm going to talk in terms of those things. At Chelsea houses, I've been to some of them. I've been to also some of the Fulton ones. I've been to a 3-bedroom where I went into the living room and said, how do you like it? Well, I saw 2 beds, 2 large beds in the living room. That's disgusting. In addition to that, I looked at some of the floor plans, not from you, but from other organizations where I got the floor plans. From you, I have to go to FOIL, and that's ridiculous. But when looking at a 5-bedroom apartment, there was 1.5 baths. And when you really think about it, especially for the poor, most bedrooms are doubled up. So a 5-bedroom is probably 10 people. To use 1.5 bathrooms, again, is not humane. It may be by code, but it's not humane. Also with COVID, you now have more people living in apartments totally different than they did 10 years ago. They're living there longer. They're doing schooling inside these apartments. And so when you're doing construction and stuff like that, you may have people that are forced to live in their apartments with asbestos and with construction and air dust all over the place for a lifetime. To talk about 16 years and 25 years, and that's based on saying that it's financially sound. 25 years might be 40 years, or it might be never completed. And to that, I think it's just something that has to be re-examined. As far as the Chelsea houses, they are structurally sound, and there's many ways they can manipulate things so that there's an added bathroom, a bigger bathroom, and more sound construction. So I'm saying design better, build better, renovate better.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Doris McLaughlin. I live in Oceanside Apartments. I just wanted to know, I've been experiencing the maintenance workers coming to my apartment saying that they want to do an inspection. I've not been opening up my door. I just lost my husband about almost 4 years ago. So I do not open my door because I do not know who these maintenance people are. I remember my husband and I have been living in public housing over 40 years. So I remember a time when NYCHA used to send around booklets, and they would have all of the maintenance people's names. You would know who your manager was. You would know who the maintenance workers were. So these people come knocking on my door, and I get no notice saying they are coming. And so I'm in my apartment by myself, and usually it's men. So is that, I remember a time it wasn't like that. We would get a pre-notice. Before NYCHA workers came and knocked on our door, we would know that they were coming. We don't know now that they're coming. They're just knocking on my door, showing up, saying, I'm here to do an inspection. And when I go to the door, I say, why are you here? And they say, I'm here to do an inspection. I do not open my door because I tell them I did not get a notice. So I would like to know, what is the protocol now? Because it seems like there's a protocol that has changed. Things have changed, and the residents are not aware of the change.
Thank you, Ms. Torres, for your comment. There are operations staff here today to help address individual apartment issues and concerns. We're going to turn to Zoom again. The first 4 Zoom speakers are Pamela Pettyjohn, followed by Carmen Quinones, and then Elizabeth Valdez and Michelle Spinner. First, Pamela Pettyjohn. Ms. Pettyjohn, you may unmute and share your comment. Okay, I'll move to Ms. Quinones.
Good evening to all, and I want to say welcome to the new chair, Ruben, and I hope that we can have time to sit and meet. My name is Carmen Quinones. I'm the president of Douglas Houses. There's a lot of things that have been said today, so I'm not definitely going to repeat, but the dog situation is really out of hand. Most of these developments have no signs about curbing your dog. When I first came here, and I'm 66 years old. When I came here, I was 14. And let me tell you, we had signs everywhere. You couldn't walk on the grass. You couldn't have your dog on the grass. Another thing is that our maintenance workers, we are low on maintenance workers. I think that NYCHA has to really look at how heavy-handed they are on the top and how low they are on the bottom. The people at the bottom are really the ones doing the work, and they need to get paid for it, right? I don't have a manager now. I have a borough administrator, Scarborough's. He's amazing. He's doing like 4 different jobs and has so many different developments. I hope they're paying him what he's worth. I don't want him to leave. I am so sick of the overturned stuff here that I get a manager today and then I don't have a manager tomorrow. This is not only me, it's all over the place. And again, you guys are too heavy-handed on the top. The top is not doing the work. It's the bottom. And you need to pay these people. And you need to get workers that really want to work and put the union on blast, because these unions are not doing anything for these maintenance workers, and they're paying their dues. And these workers are doing whatever they want. A lot of them, they drink on the job, all of that. These inspections, you need to inspect these apartments. You got Airbnb in most of these buildings. People are renting out apartments that they don't even belong in.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next, Elizabeth Valdez.
Unmute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed with your comment.
My name is Elizabeth Valdez, and I live in LaGuardia Houses, the Lower East Side. Very nice neighborhood here, but I don't see that the building managers that they're making use of the cameras, and there's a lot of vandalism here that goes on. People smoking out in the lobby, the breaking of the doors, or the urinating or dirtying in the elevators. And there's cameras there, and they're working. I don't see them checking and holding any of the tenants accountable. Also, I have tickets from 2022, 2023. One is a closet door that's hanging on one hinge, and the other one is a cabinet that it's broken. I had to take it out from the kitchen cabinet, and put it into my living room. And when I called today the housing manager, if I can, because I'm tired of waiting, if I can purchase it on my own and take it out the rent. He said, no, I couldn't. I'm unable to do that. I understand the lack of funding, but something needs to be done because it's frustrating to have to wait on the repairs. And I'm a person, with a physical disability. So, a lot of these things I need assistance, and they're just there sitting there unfixed. And that was what my comment is about.
Thank you very much. Next, Michelle Spinner.
Okay. Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, please
Great.
proceed.
Good. My name is Michelle Spinner. I have lived in Chelsea for 41 years. I'm the vice president of the London Terrace Tenants Association, which is the tenants association for the 1,000-unit apartment complex that is London Terrace Gardens. And I speak on behalf of the LTTA when I say that we stand in solidarity with the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea residents and the others who have spoken here this evening when we say we are against demolition and for renovation. So no to demolition. There are a lot of other people who've spoken this evening who've given lots of really good detail. So I will let the next person, continue. But I want to thank you for letting me speak. We are very, very, very much against demolition. You've got to find a way to renovate. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We'll resume with in-person speakers. The first two, Timothy Paulson from Environmental Justice Initiative, followed by Wayne Walcott, Albany Houses.
Good evening. I'm with the Environmental Justice Initiative and Joel Kupferman. In our observation of biweekly meetings at Smith Houses, a really quite terrifying situation has arisen that has been going on for some time and has been unaddressed, and I need to address it here tonight. There is no effective alarm system in the Smith Houses. And I want to bring this up because it's not that it hasn't been a subject of discussion, it has been. But there has been a lot of back and forth and a lot of around and around. And recently, an emergency meeting was called and then canceled unilaterally on the NYCHA side of things, the contractor NYCHA side of things, last week. That was called, and then abruptly, with no notice, called off against the rules. The point of this is that there is the idea of an alarm system, it just doesn't work. The idea is that all the buildings are connected by an alarm system, but it depends on office hours. Well, fires don't follow a regular schedule. And we don't want to have a system that depends on a fire breaking out between 8 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. At the same time, and then that's what would have to happen for a third party to be informed. Also, that third party, they don't know the name of it, they don't know the phone number. We asked them, they told us they're looking for the phone number, and they don't know the name of that third party. So there are 161 families in each of those towers. Those brick towers could be ovens. We don't want a Grenfell Tower situation. We need to get this fixed and stop running around. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good night, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The name is Wayne Walcott from Albany Houses. I remember when coming to these meetings, housing, the management had a plan to save public housing. An elaborate plan, and that time housing was for low-income workers, low-income people. That plan started a change because it moved from low-income to affordable. Today we see affordable is not for low-income anymore. It never was. We come to, like Mr. Rubin was saying, board meetings here. Want people come to board meetings. Board meetings are a show, a shamble, where the executive members come, make the elaborate speeches, and then disappear. Tenants have to argue among ourselves as to what we want to get done. This was a public housing thing for, like I say, low income. We have executives here going to DC every year, as they say, to fight for money. Every year, the funding keeps getting less and less, but the salaries of these executives keep going up and up. Like we say, when you fire the workers who do the work and hire more executives, this is where the deficit is coming from. $80 billion, this could only lead to more privatization in public housing. What's happening here? We have public housing that is now on the market. Low income went out, affordable also went out. The 30% need to go back so that poor people could live in this New York City. We cannot afford the rents that people charge in now, and public housing was the only safety zone we had. So now you folks up here in this position, we want you all to save us, or we will be saving ourselves.
Thank you. Our next two in-person speakers are Wanda Yvette Ballines from Millbrook, followed by Marquis Jenkins, District Leader.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wanda Yvette Ballines. I'm a little bit nervous because it's the first time ever that I participate in something like this. I am more accustomed to be working with the schools. The question that I asked, several people already asked, but I've been noticing that 10 people are part in this board, and I only see the lady in the back, the lady next to me is Lisa, I can barely see from here, and then NYPD representative writing down. So, is this draft already set in stone? Because the word draft would not be, because I don't see anybody answering any questions. I don't see anybody saying anything or making any mannerism, anything. I know that there was a lot more that I wanted to discuss, and I wanted to say it in Spanish, but my respect to you. No, I don't have enough time to ask it in Spanish, unless I talk really fast. Please, let us know, because it would have been so easy. My twin and me actually put this in our calendar. We synced it because we didn't want to miss this. And I am so, so proud to live in the South Bronx. I am Puerto Rican born and raised, and I've been living in there since 2009. So a few things need to change, and I really need you guys to answer. Even if you answer to my email, I will appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Rubin, we go out of our way to make sure that you hear us. But are you listening to the residents? Good afternoon. My name is Marquis Jenkins, and I serve as the district leader for the 74th Assembly District. I am here today to raise urgent concerns about NYCHA's fiscal 2026 annual draft plan and the future of public housing in New York City. NYCHA is facing a growing, devastating funding and management crisis. NYCHA's latest fiscal needs assessment, conducted in 2023, estimates over $78.3 billion in capital needs over the next 20 years. Yet, instead of securing long-term city, state, and federal reinvestment, NYCHA is doubling down on conversions, escalating their plans to shift 62,000 units to Section 8 under RAD PAC and 25,000 units under the Public Housing Preservation Trust. These conversions are now at risk. The recently enacted Big Beautiful Bill slashes federal support for both Section 8 and Section 9. It caps new vouchers, cut administrative funding, and eliminates programs like the Green and Resilient Retrofit Program. These cuts threaten the financial foundation of RAD, PAC, and the trust conversion. If Section 8 subsidies falter, these developments may struggle to repay their mortgages, increasing the risk of foreclosure and displacement. How do we then make an argument to cross over to Section 8 when Section 8 is under attack? And what's worse is that when we don't get the money under public housing, we don't get the repairs. But if we don't get the money under Section 8, we face foreclosure. At the same time, NYCHA continues to undermine resident autonomy and leadership in decision-making. The agency's role in resident council election is biased and oblique. Elections lack language access, transparency, and fairness. Residents fear retaliation for opposing NYCHA's agenda, whether it's RAD PAC, the trust, or air rights sales. This is
Thank you, sir,
unacceptable.
for your comments.
I am calling on HUD and NYCHA to take immediate actions, just these last three sentences. One.
Thank you. We do need to move to our Zoom speakers. We're going to start with our Zoom speakers. Our first, Sadie GF, followed by Salamaya Legree, Christina Chase, and then Burgos Rolando. First Zoom speaker, Sadie GF.
Good evening. My name is Sadie. I'm from Reese. This annual budget is vague and it needs oversight. The 964 regs is to prevent Section 18, which is demolition, which we are not for at all. Section 8 is being forced on Section 9. Section 9 is what Reese had one, which is it has more protections, right? And obviously, when we know there's more protections under Section 9, giving residents their option is the best thing to give, right? There's more freedom, is more, it comes with more freedom with it. The elephant in the room is that there's no funding for either one. The annual budget is really a guesstimate for years to come, quote unquote. I'm giving air quotes for futures. We only have hope money to spend, if that. We're in uncertain times right now. Uncertain leaders with uncertain budget proves to be problematic for us residents. City Council needs to compel NYCHA for the answers because obviously we are not getting them tonight. And the reason why I say that is because every time you go before City Council, there's no answer. When you come before the residents, there's still no answer. So the only way we're going to get that unless they compel you to give us an answer. Because every time there's a situation that happens to any one of us residents, it's always this chuck and jive, this dance that we always go through with you guys. There's never a clear-cut answer. We put in a ticket or work order, there's nothing done. There's no trained worker to do the job, the manager is not in, no one knows anything. You call, the call bounces around. There's times when even we go to housing court, they don't know the answer. Sometimes we don't even have an attorney. We have to go to legal aid. The legal aid doesn't even have inundated cases. So we need answers. And City Council needs to compel you.
Thank you. Next, Salima Legree.
Hi, my name is Salima Legree. I'm the Tenant Association Board President for Brownsville, and I'm calling because I have a lot of concern. Basically, first one I want to say is remodeling our apartments inside and outside. Dog areas is necessary because these dogs, when we got to step inside with our shopping carts, we stepping in dog maneuver. We got little kids stepping in it and bringing it into our homes. Then not only that, we need intercoms safe set up for the tenants to allow it to do it themselves instead of getting these keys. The little foggers that we have do not work, along with tenants breaking the doors, along with people that don't live here breaking the doors. And also, I would also like to say, as far as the elders, helping them with their annuals, helping them know how to pay rent and stuff like that. Get someone to navigate certain things or have them assist them getting things done. Also, not only that, outside windows, we need nets because people like throwing things out the window. That is a risk for not only the residents, it's for the housing workers as well. They throw pads, they throw diapers, they throw glass bottles outside the windows. This is ridiculous and I am tired. And maybe we'll need to also make some ways to where we could hire more housing workers. Along with maybe we should start doing our own self-inspections so then we could feel comfortable knowing who's coming in our home and otherwise than that and get a week's notice in advance and then come to agreement to make things better for us as a whole as Brownsville residents and as NYCHA residents as a whole. This has to get better. I want us to get better and make a difference and make changes, good changes, not bad, all for the good.
Thank you very much for your comment. Christina Chase.
Good evening. My name is Christina Chase, and I'm part of Justice for All Coalition, a grassroots tenants' rights organization in Western Queens with a particular focus on NYCHA residents. I'm also here on behalf of the Ravenswood Resident Association, where I serve over 5,000 residents as second vice president. I'm here to express concern and dissent on NYCHA's privatization plans, particularly Intel, RADPAC, the trials market rate development, and especially the proposed demolition of Fulton Elliott and Chelsea houses. The draft annual plan touts the progress of RADPAC conversions, but most residents still don't fully understand it or want it. As we've heard during many New York City Council hearings this year, residents are not satisfied with PAC repairs, and resident associations are being bullied into consenting to a process they do not fully understand. Confusion, fear, and intimidation are not acceptable strategies for garnering consent. NYCHA's current procedures do not meaningfully engage tenants, nor ensure deep understanding of the conversion changes and policies. Public meetings feel like rubber stamping processes, where the few residents who do attend leave confused and scared instead of informed and empowered. NYCHA continues to violate their rights and provide insufficient resident leadership support. In addition, it is unclear where the resident advisory board stands because no minutes are provided or included in the annual plan. Where do all the NYCHA resident leaders stand when it comes to the demolition plans of Fulton Elliott and Chelsea? I doubt they would approve or consent because this would set a horrible precedent for all of NYCHA and put all of our homes in danger of real estate predatory practices. Residents of FEC surely want homes where they live in dignity, but there's no need to demolish and give the majority of that land away for market rate development. That is absurd. Over $35 million to demolish instead of rehabilitating. It doesn't make sense. Removing almost 400 mature trees in a city already experiencing urban heat island effect, it doesn't make sense. Building thousands of market rate housing instead of Section 9 public housing when shelters are busting at the seams, it doesn't make sense. AMI is not affordable. We do not need MIH. Most people make less than 30% AMI and does not meet the lowest threshold for MIH.
Thank you for your comment. Our last Zoom speaker, Burgos Rolando. Burgos Rolando, you may unmute and share your comment. Okay, I'm going to move back to our in-person speakers. Our first two are Renee Keat Elliott, followed by Mr. Martinez, South Jamaica Houses.
Hello, I'm Renee Kitt. I'm the Resident Association President of the Elliott Chelsea Houses. Once again, we are here to address NYCHA's annual plan. And once again, we are pushing forward a demolition plan the residents of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea have overwhelmingly rejected. We now have 955 signatures opposing demolition. That's 955 real people, seniors, families, working class New Yorkers who are saying no. Yet you continue to talk about how you care about residents. That language is not only patronizing, it's offensive. The residents have spoken clearly. No demolition. Your own records show only 550 responses in favor of new construction and rezoning, and yet you ignore the majority. You ignore our voices because they don't fit your financial plan. Let's talk about the abuse happening now. Seniors are being harassed with phone calls, pressured to agree to apartments that are smaller than the ones they have, and were told they should throw their clothes away. This is not care, this is coercion and abuse. People on NYCHA's vacancy list should be outraged. They should sue. Families waiting for years for a transfer should sue. Clearing buildings to make way for a demolition is not planning, it's manipulation. It's talking out of both sides of your mouth. You say it's about dignity, but you treat people like liabilities. We are not assets to be leveraged. We are not development opportunities. We are not here to fund NYCHA's failed financial experiments. We are people, human beings. And what's happening here is not policy, it's violence. It's demolition by neglect, racial capitalism, the commodification of housing. You say there's no money, but we see $1.2 billion in public housing funding from the state. We hear members of the board saying they told electors in Albany to stay out of NYCHA's way. I say for you, get out of your way. Get out of our way. Give it to the people who actually give a damn. And let me be absolutely clear. This struggle is not just about buildings, it's about power and dignity, and about who gets to live in Manhattan. We will continue to organize. We will continue to resist. We will continue to cause good trouble, necessary trouble.
Thank you very much for your comment. Mr. Martinez?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Manny Martinez, and I'm here to say what we all know. NYCHA is failing its residents, and it's no accident. For years, NYCHA has stripped away our right to build strong, united communities. They interfere with our right to organize with fraudulent organizations NYCHA created. NYCHA rigs our elections and locks us out of the decisions that shape our homes and our families' futures. They disrespect us at every turn, disrespecting our neighbors, ignoring our concerns, and treating us like we don't matter. And this isn't just neglect, it's planned. NYCHA allows our buildings to fall into disrepair on purpose. They mismanage repairs, warehousing over 10,000 apartments to reduce the revenue potential and to pressure us into accepting plans that destroy public housing. And because there's no accountability or real structure, from executives to local managers are free to abuse our communities without fear of consequences. And while the disrepair piles up, NYCHA is cutting off the very economic opportunities that could save our communities. Trainings, jobs, contracts, and programs that should be building our neighborhoods up are blocked. And I was told that it was the NYCHA board that decided to block it. These opportunities are our legal rights, and they're the key to generating the money needed to fix our homes. But NYCHA keeps them out of reach. It is not just NYCHA. Some HUD employees, the ones meant to protect us, are abusing their power, pushing personal agendas, and shielding the same executives who are destroying our communities. Meanwhile, NYCHA uses our federal dollars to apparently lobby politicians against us. This is the same playbook that kept neighborhoods segregated decades ago. Today, it's illuminated not by street lights, but by tiki torches, because the mindset behind it is the same. Push our communities out and profit from our removal. They call it progress, but it's really just using gentrification as disrepair.
Thank you for your comment. Our next two in-person speakers are Luana Green, Midtown South Community Council, followed by Terry Campesino, Meltzer Tower.
No, I won't. Hello, thank you for letting me testify. My name is Luana Green, and I'm a resident of Chelsea for over 50 years. I'm here to speak against the proposed demolition of the Elliott Chelsea houses and by its NYCHA and its associates. NYCHA and its associates are violating residents' human and civil rights by intimidating, harassing, and coercion of tenants, especially the elderly, which constitute elder abuse. Instead of honoring the over 900 votes against the demolition, NYCHA and its cohorts has violated its own policies and has rejected the tenants' voices and desire to stay in their homes. The structurally sound buildings are being demolished in order to continue NYCHA's historically segregation by design plans and the displacement of longtime residents in lieu of real estate developers' takeover of acres of land for profit over people. The design plans include the loss of air, open space, and views for clusters of buildings on top of one another. In addition, the math ain't mathing. The destruction of these structurally sound buildings is not more cost-effective than the minimum renovations required. Most tenants are happy in their homes, and most of the homes don't need any but a little small remediation and are minimal at best. Over the last 10 years, Chelsea has seen an increase in the rise of residential buildings, and as well as hotels, catering to the wealthy and the tourists. Since the demographics have changed to more affluent, more affluent white residents, it's only by design that the projects, which house mostly minorities, are now deers in the headlights of racist gentrification in the guise of comprehensive modernization. I will continue to fight with residents to prevent the loss of their homes and the abuse of the elderly and the unfair practice.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Next, Terry Campesano.
Good evening. My name is Terry. Out of Queensbridge and then out of Vladeck, I wasn't aware of all the damage and trouble in all these buildings. But then as president, when I was going through all the apartments, then I became aware of the damage. So we, with sadness, are going into the PAC program. We're a senior building, and that's with sadness and a little bit of being scared about the process. We were also had a bait and switch recently when we were shown one apartment complex on video, and then we're taken to a scrappy place in Long Island City. Another thing is regarding the situation with the management at Housing Authority, is I feel that the TAs are the ones that should be walking home with the big checks, because we're the eyes and the ears of NYCHA, and like we have the security is really lax in our building, so that's the reason why we're heading into that situation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We will move to our Zoom speakers. We have Rachel Williams, followed by Jacqueline Delgado, Cynthia Tibbs, and Dana Eldon. Rachel Williams, you may unmute and share your comment.
I tried to, oh man, what happened? It's not unmuting.
We hear you.
You hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Oh, okay. So, what I wanted to talk about was, because the whole thing is to also safety was involved in a lot of the, when it comes to renewing everything. And, I feel that we shouldn't have to call in and say, hey, our what you call that? The bell, our outside, oh my goodness, the word, where you have to press to go into our apartment. We need to have all of that fixed, because for me, I'm an older person now. I've been here 30 something years, and I'm feeling like with the door, the reason why the door is, people put things in the doors because our oh my goodness, I can't believe I can't say that. Our outside speakers, is not working. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. This is just a fog in my brain. But we need that fixed. And, even housing come and they know that the bells are not working and they know it, but they won't go back and say, these things need to be fixed. Years ago, when they knew something needed to be fixed, like the light or, our bells outside, they would put it in. We shouldn't have to do that because that's for our safety. And it's really better for you because if anything happened to one of us because that's not fixed, we could sue you. So you lose out on money with somebody's.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Jacqueline Delgado. Jacqueline Delgado, you may unmute and share your comment. I'll move on to our next Zoom speaker, Cynthia Tibbs.
My name is Cynthia Tibbs. My name is Cynthia Tibbs. I'm the TA president of the Reserve Brownstones in Upper Manhattan. I want to talk about safety and security. I don't feel safe nor secure in my development, neither do my residents. We had an assault up here last night, and while NYPD and PSA 6 have done an amazing job in dealing with this assault, we have yet to hear from safety and security. Not one word to the resident. I have made several statements in the past about NYCHA being too top heavy, and this is one of the reasons why, because we have people in top level positions that do absolutely nothing. We have developments that are too small to use TPA funds to finance a virtual resident security, virtual resident watch, because we have to use our TPA money to fund that. And if we can't, then we can't get cameras because NYCHA has no money. This is unacceptable. I have over 30 vacant apartments in my development. Many of them have been broken into by squatters. We have many blind spots in my building, and yet there was an assault last night that most of you are aware about. And where is safety and security? And the answer is not privatizing us, because safety and security in the privatization buildings are no better than NYCHA's. Nobody's doing their job, and this needs to stop. Where is the accountability on the Section 9 side or the Section 8 side? Everyone's making big money and nobody's accountable. And this has got to stop. It's not funny. Does NYCHA want to see someone die in these buildings before they take a serious look and go, oh, let's start figuring out how we can get cameras?
Thank you, Ms. Alton, for your comment. We're going to resume in-person speakers. My apologies. Thank you, Ms. Tibbs, for your comment. Our final Zoom speaker is Dana Eldon.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Eldon. I'm from St. Mary's Park Houses. I'm a New York State chaplain, and I'm also an executive board secretary for the South Bronx, executive board member of Residents Who Preserve Public Housing. And I wanted to say, just as NYCHA can repair all issues at these converting developments to prepare for a new management company to take over, they should also have money to repair developments that are not converting and decide to remain Section 9. I do have a concern about the moving about that is being done with the seniors. I'm a disabled senior as well. They are the most vulnerable, and most than likely, they can be easily bullied and blindsided, and many are afraid to say anything and losing their home if they do. So they're silent. There hasn't been any attempt to have senior accommodations set for the elderly who do not want to remain in a Section 8 development. Once they make a conversion, they cannot come back to Section 9. Most of New York's NYCHA residents are comfortably happy with Section 9. And some of the arrangements during these renovations until they realize that under the new management, they have no personal right to make a decision, and that these private management corporations can do as they please. Some are even told that they can gather residents and organize. However, what power do they actually have? They have none. And at the end of the day, they're left out in the cold with no representation. They can't even be a part of CCOP, their organization. They have no say. I fear that these private management corporations become their operative positions, and that many
Thank you,
residents
Ms.
will
Eldon.
be recorded in
We will
every
now
corridor.
move to our next set of in-person speakers. The first two are Leonard Poletta from MSCC Leaps, followed by Jimenez Georgina from First Houses.
Hello, excuse me. Thank you for allowing me to testify. I live in Penn South. I am a member of the board of Midtown South Community Council and Limited Equity at Penn South. And I want to say that you need to understand that the entire Chelsea community is opposed to the demolition plan that NYCHA is pushing. It is fundamentally undemocratic because it is against the wishes of the tenants. It's clear that the tenants do not want demolition, and it's clear that it is 3 times the cost and probably 5 times in terms of the length that it's going to take to carry this program out that renovation would be. Renovation could be done if it had begun when the working group wanted it done, which was 4 or 5 years ago. It would be well underway at this time. But instead of following the working group, once Related got the RFP, somehow a deal was cooked up somewhere that they came in and said, we can't possibly do the renovation. Now we have to demolish 24 buildings. Can you imagine? In our community, 24 buildings are going to be knocked down over a period of 15 to 20 years or 30 years. The community is not going to stand for it. And you need to understand that. You've heard several people here say they are not going to allow this demolition to go forward. And I think you have to listen to that. And you really have to listen to the residents who are opposed to this. They don't want this to happen.
Thank you very much. Jimenez Georgina. Do we have Jimenez in the audience?
You need a mic? I can bring it to you.
Okay, this is a translation from something on a phone. My name is Georgina Jimenez. I've been residing in First Houses for over 12 years. I'm here today to speak about my reasonable accommodation status to a lower floor within the development because of my health condition status. It's a walk up to the building, second floor apartment. It's affecting my health. My doctor diagnosed me with asthma, arthritis on my hip, and it's affecting my legs as well as my dislocated hip. I feel like I live in a cage because the apartment windows are all closed and the large fire escape gates, and I refuse to open my windows due to one side of the windows are near the laundromat, and there's heat vents, the pipes that enter my apartment. The other end of the windows of the apartment has major traffic, and the debris enters my apartment when I open the windows. So with that being said, I had to invest in a dehumidifier in my apartment. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe my eyes on the color. I can't believe my eyes on the color. This is a bad translation. It doesn't make any sense. I'm asking you, HUD and NYCHA, to help me address this issue so I can have a better quality of life.
Thank you very much for your comment, and operations staff are on hand tonight for individual apartment issues. Our next two in-person speakers, Diane Smallwood, Section 8, and Olga M. Rochi.
Hi, peace to all. My name is Miss Smallwood. I live in a Section 8 apartment since I have Section 8. The building is not Section 8, but they take Section 8. They don't want us there. I've had my Section 8 since 1998, and when I went there, I thought it was a good building. But I researched the building. It was built in the 1940s. The building now is settling. My bedroom, my dresser, and my bed is sideways. Recently, I was displaced for 28 days because the ceiling collapsed. There was a rotten pipe that the steam was coming out of the hole in the pipe because it was corroded. It wasn't rotten, it was corroded. And it leaked so much so that as long as I've been there, the steam that went up in the ceiling in the wall, the ceiling in the walls, they couldn't hold the moisture. So it collapsed. And HPD came in. HPD on a list of HPD list violations. My building has, let me just say, so many violations. Our grade for our building has been a grade D. When they dug the hole in my floor to fix the pipes all the way through the kitchen and bedroom to the other lady's apartment, now I have rats running around. I have mice feces in every cabinet. I have cleaned out so much mice feces that now that they sealed everything back up, even though I put the vamoose down there for the mice, they can't get out the apartment. And I really don't want to be there. The whole building has so many violations, similar violations on the 5th and the 7th floor have the similar violations every year. They have the same ones. The sink, the cabinet falling off, the door falling off. I'm looking out not just for myself, but for my building. I'm under Chestnut Holdings at 1515 Magoons Road in the Bronx. I'm in apartment 312. And there's so many things that's wrong with that building. The doors don't close, the elevator we just got stuck in. I've been there since 1998 in my...
Thank you for your comment. Reminder, there are operations staff here this evening. Olga M. Rochi. Do we have Olga? Okay. Moving on to 3 Zoom speakers, starting with Crystal Glover, followed by Jenny Lopez and Jacqueline Delgado. Crystal Glover, you may unmute and share your comment.
Thank you so much. My name is Crystal Glover. I'm at Washington Houses, and I want the world to know we have not had a tenant association meeting in over a year. We don't know minutes from 2017. It's been the same board. Corrine Dickens, Claudia Perez, Albert is new, all these kind of things here. They give food out every week. So I don't know where people's SNAP money is going because they're giving out all this food that I wouldn't eat personally. Our TPA funds, we know nothing about. I'm a tenant. I complain. I'm a former president. I'm the reason infill didn't take place here at Washington Houses in East Harlem. I know that what I'm saying today is going to fall on deaf ears because I've been complaining, and it's not that I have vendettas, it's that I live here. We have constant managers coming in and out. Ada Corion called a cop on me when our water was out. When NYCHA gave water out, she called her friends, the police, and they had me arrested falsely. The list goes on and on and on. And this, me speaking out, could jeopardize my very existence. But me being a speaker and loving my community and just loving Black folk, period, I will put myself on the line like that because I know it's going to fall on deaf ears. Resident engagement, participation in all the civic duty, they do absolutely nothing. D-Cops is a joke. And when they said that they got at the beginning of this meeting, when they said D-Cop sat with tenant residents and they sat with this one and approved this, that, and the third, these people, I can't say what I'm thinking. It's a disgrace. And you tenant association leaders, residents, there's a lot that y'all don't know about. That sister from Brownsville that just spoke, she sounds so intelligent. She needs to get with Leroy Williams because when you call 306-3000 and press 4, they have this, you won't get the what you call it?
Jeannie Lopez.
Okay, hi. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, please
Okay,
proceed.
perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Jeannie Lopez. I live in Boston Seaport Development, representative of Save Section 9. Shout out to Ramona. I'm proud to say that I was raised in public housing, and now I'm raising the next generation here. Public housing gave me and my family a foundation when we had nowhere else to go. This is where we could build stability and community. Some of the strongest memories are right here in these buildings, growing up surrounded by neighbors who looked out for each other, sharing food during hard times, and watching our kids grow up together in the same hallways we played. That's what public house means to me. Safety, roots, and survival. But after my mother passed away, I received no support, no guidance, and no clear pathway to maintain my home. No one explained to me my rights, nor was I offered transfer or told on what steps to do and taken to secure my tenancy. I was left in the dark, having to figure it out on my own while grieving. That's not how any tenant should be treated. This reflects on the deeper issue of NYCHA's ongoing pattern of confusion, lack of transparency, and poor communication. New plans and partnerships are rolled out, but tenants are kept out of the loop until it's too late. We hear about changes after they happen, and if we're lucky, it feels intentional, like we're being pushed out slowly. One missed notice or one answered call and question at a time. We need City Council to step up and demand accountability. Tenants deserve a real access to information, guaranteed pathways to preserve their homes after not death in the household or anything else, and support, not silence. We're facing major life changes. These aren't just like management oversights. They're failures that cause harm. Public housing isn't just a policy, it's our home. And if NYCHA and its partners can't keep that in focus, then these plans aren't just another step forward, they're displacement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Jacqueline Delgado.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. This is for Gail Brewer. I hold great respect for you. When you were Manhattan Borough President and I had an issue with NYCHA, you solved that issue. My biggest concern is I'm an asthmatic and so are my children. In front of the NYCHA buildings, there is an immense rat infestation. And then the garbage that they have in front of the buildings. I think that's inhumane to us, right? Because it's unfair that we have to walk into the building and have to be greeted by humongous rats, okay, for fear of coming in. My question is, if they're putting garbage cans all over the place, how come NYCHA? Why does the garbage have to be in front of the complexes where the rats are coming out of everywhere? what I ask is, I try to address this with NYCHA. I put in my complaints, I put in my tickets, and it falls on deaf ears. My main concern is, God forbid a rat bites any of us. So, and they're not small, they're the size of cats. Why do they have to keep the garbage in front of the NYCHA buildings? I feel that there should be a dumpster where they can throw it at, opposed to having garbage in front of the NYCHA buildings. That's my main concern.
Thank you for your comment. We will now hear from our two final in-person speakers of the evening, Donna Miles Wooding from Eastchester Gun Hill, followed by Adaloa Chester from Queensbridge South.
Hello, everyone. I have an important message. I'd like to talk about the need for sign language interpreters at these resident meetings. Can everyone see me? The reason why I say that is because when I have meetings or any maintenance come, I need interpreting services to be able to communicate. I explain to them that I'm deaf, and it's really important that I get these things done. My family has to come and interpret for me. When cleaning for my apartment, the apartment next to me, 5C, will come by, and they're extremely messy. I'm trying to keep my space clean for my family and my kids, and I have to go clean out our public spaces because they'll dump things in the hallway. I'll see rats out because they're messy and lazy. And I try to tell the landlord, try to complain to the management office to help them clean up. And here's another example. I decorate for the holidays. I do really beautiful decorations and my kids really enjoy it, but residents in the neighborhood will destroy my decorations, and I try to explain that to the residents and their kids, and I end up having damaged holiday decorations every season. For Halloween, I'll also decorate really beautiful, spooky things, and again, I'll have residents damage those, and I've given up on decorating for the holidays. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Adaloa Chester.
Hello, good evening. My name is Adiola, last name is Chester. I live in South Queensbridge. The reason I came tonight is to speak about rent certification appointments without sign language interpreters. Deaf people within the 5 boroughs, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, management doesn't care to support them. You have to call for a sign language interpreter before these recertification meetings. I get rent increases that don't make any sense because I haven't had an interpreter show up to these meetings for years. I've been living here for over 8 years, and I try to show them and explain them that there's rats and mice, and we know that there's problems in my community, pests and other things, and I'm tired of having these constant inspections. I've had 6 inspections in my home without any solutions. Especially when inspectors show up at your door, knock at your door, and don't explain why they're here. They'll tell you what's going on, there's pests, and there's no solution. It's a waste of time, a waste of resources. If they just properly manage and fix these homes, deaf people within the 5 boroughs wouldn't have any problems. Again, I'd like to reiterate my third point. Management doesn't care about us. I try and explain to them that I'm a paying resident, and they're saying that you guys owe me money, and I'm trying to explain that I don't, and there's a bunch of hullabaloo that goes on, and they're trying to collect rent and money from me that I don't owe them. I'm so tired of this. I have an asthma attack. It's just not fair going through all this. I really want to move away and get out of this situation, but I've been a resident for 8 years in this building and 13 years overall with NYCHA. I don't see how they're helping the community within the 5 boroughs. Hearing people get all these privileges and rights, and management gets turnover and they just don't know how to deal with deaf residents. They took me to court about a rent increase, And it's just really confusing because I'm not getting the sign language interpreting access that I need. That's all I'd like to share.
Thank you for your comment. As we conclude this evening's public hearing, let me take this opportunity to thank you all for taking the time to participate. Whether you are a NYCHA resident, board member, employee, advocate, or elected official, we are here for a common reason. Over 177,000 apartments, homes that we collectively desire to see valued, improved, and preserved. I want to acknowledge you and let you know that your voice and presence resonate. I encourage you to stay involved. Thank you, be well, and safe travels. What do you want? One more? Right. Okay, we are at time at 8 o'clock, so this will be our last speaker. John Mudd, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. My name's John Mudd. I'm with the Midtown South Community Council. I've been living around the area since '84. We're part of a larger coalition. There are neighbors. Public housing folks are neighbors. We have a huge coalition together. We want to protect our neighbors. We want to protect ourselves from what's coming. You stand for housing urban development. You're more like a corporate urban development, okay? These people, you've been partnering with NYCHA. You wrote a report with NYCHA, one of the worst landlords in the city. They're demolishing the place by neglect. I said, we see what's going on here, all right? We're very clear about what's going on here. A lot of us are very clear, and if you walk through that space, it's a beautiful space, lots of playgrounds for the kids to grow and to meet each other and to play with each other. Lots of elderly can hang out, ball courts, and you're going to take that away from people? And the empty apartments, the amount of empty apartments during a crisis, a homeless and housing crisis, and you're going to warehouse these apartments? That's exactly what these landlords do with the rent controlled and rent stabilized. Okay, you're causing more of a crisis in a time of the worst economic downturn, and it's going to get worse, and you're going to impact a lot of people, and you're going to increase the homelessness. You've got to stand behind these people because all the neighborhood is going to stand behind them. So we're asking you, do the right thing. Do the right thing and stand behind the public and stay out. I've looked back on history on your head of HUD. Every single one of you guys, practically, from way back for as long as I did my research, embraces private development, partnerships with private people.
Thank you, Mr. Mudd, for your comment. Have a great evening, everyone.